you're watching this video today, that means that you're one of our amazing dermaviduals partners who has invested in our fantastic new corneotherapeutic makeup range, dermaviduals deco, our customized mineral foundation. Today what I'm going to take you through is how to set up your retail stand, your display stand of dermaviduals deco foundations. First off, what I'm going to tell you is a little bit about what comes with your stand. As you can see here, we have starting from the back, we have the 3 different coloured mineral pigments that you use to customise your foundation. You have a yellow base foundation plus, a red base foundation plus, and a black base foundation plus. You'll also notice that there are 6 spaces here, and what we've designed this for is one each of your formulations of foundations. You can see the formulations, and we're going to make up one of each of these for your display stand, so 1 through to 6. They're customised deco foundations, pre-customised ones that you can have on your stand ready for clients to try. So these are all these are white foundation plus, just the white base pigment that we're going to mix. You'll also see on your stand a hyaluronic acid concentrate. This is used as a primer, as we know that silicons in most primers these days are very nasty and they are not corneotherapeutic. However, hyaluronic acid is commonly used in our range as a primer. We also have 3 of our mineral loose powders. The first one here is our transparent powder. The second one is our Summer Light Beige. And the third one is our Summer Light Bronze. You'll also notice that you have a cover and conceal stick. This is our green mineral pigmented colour and conceal stick. It has as well anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties, so covering any redness we can use under our foundations. You'll also notice that your kit comes with 4 liners. 2 of these are lip pencils and 2 of them are eyeliners or eye pencils. We've also set up our stand, and you can do as you please, with some tweezers if you want to do any work around to tidy up the brows. And a range of brushes too that you would need throughout applying your makeup. So what I'm going to take you through today is how to customise your 1 through to 6 foundations. First off, before we get to mixing anything, we advise that you have a numbers of stickers that you draw up. So 1 through to 6. To apply to these foundations, because at the moment all they all say is white foundation plus, and you would hate to confuse them all. So what we're going to do is get each foundation and pop a little sticker on it, and then we'll mix these accordingly. We suggest that you just apply it in this blank space here, definitely not in the lids. If you apply in the lids, people will mix them up. So just popping a 1 on this one. So that's your 1 there. This one I'm going to put the number 2. And so forward. And that way they're not visible either. You pop them on the side. And now we've finished our labelling of our foundations. Then what we're going to do is start customising. So we're going to start with number 1. and getting out the cloth at the table. So as you can see on the formulation chart, number 1, this is for a very bright or even prone to cuperose skin. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll start with our yellow, which is 4.4 grams of yellow. But before I get started, I'm going to put my gloves on. I'm also going to get my scales out, and I'll teach you how to use these. I'm going to have a sterile spatula ready, so just cleaning your spatula. Having that ready for customization. Okay, so what we're first going to do is remove the seal from this. And you dispose of that straight away. Just the seal you dispose of. Then you put your lid upside down because that is your vacuum pump that you're going to get later to close. And we don't want any cross-contamination on that, so just placing that upside down. Opening the foil seal of your White Foundation Plus and disposing of that as well. Firstly, we're going to turn on our scales, making sure you're measuring it in grams as well, as that's our unit of measurement. So you can see grams here. You can just see that there if you want to have a closer look. Okay, and sorry that's just moved because I've bumped that. We've gone back to 0 now. Applying your White Foundation Plus to it, you'll see that the grams go up. So what we're going to do is press this ZT button here, and that takes it back to 0 grams. So we've just tarred that because what we've got to do is we've got to add 4.4 grams of our yellow base foundation plus. So getting your yellow base foundation plus, removing that and squirting it in until we see the scales go to 4.4 grams. So keep squirting. Getting close there. So start. Perfect. So that's gone a tiny bit over 4.46. Okay. Now what we're going to do is tar that again. And we're going to add in, as this says, your formulation chart, we have 1.2 grams of red. What you can do as well is you can see that getting close to the edge. If you just want to be cautious, give that a pat down. Back to 0. And we're adding 1.2 grams of red. Perfect. You can tar that back to 0 again by pressing the ZT button. And black. So before I get that, as you can see on your formulation chart, black is just 1 gram exactly. So getting your black base foundation plus. So now what we'll do is get your metal spatula and we're going to blend this foundation. So that's what you can see at the moment. And we're going to blend it until it becomes the base foundation colour, formulation number 1. So you can see those colours melding together there. Your mineral pigments. what you can see at the moment is still a bit of colour. So what we're trying to achieve is making sure that we don't see any yellow, red or black or even the white pigment. And you've got to mix this for about 4 minutes in order to do that. And just scraping the edges as well, because sometimes it can get caught up there. Also scraping that off your spatula too. So we just keep mixing until there are no singular mineral pigments visible. We're getting there now. Still seeing a tiny bit of white in there down the bottom at the moment. You probably can't see that in the camera. It's nearly all gone. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that colour, as you can see there. That's your completed mixer formulation number 1. Just scraping off the edges of your spatula. If you like as well, just to make sure that the canister of your makeup is clean there before you apply the lid back on. You can also just give it a little wipe around the edges. Okay, giving that a pat down as well. Getting your vacuum pump lid, your airless pump, and popping some pressure on that. And that is your Customised Base Foundation Plus, number 1. Okay. You can give it a squirt as well, just to make sure. Get that going. It will take a few little pumps. And there's your base foundation one. Don't worry if it's not coming out straight away, it's just your airless pump getting going. So number 1 is completed. Now what I'm going to do is take you over to number 2. So Number 2 is your slightly toned even complexion. And we're going to start off by adding 5.2 grams of yellow. So getting your number 2. So you can see here, number 2. Removing the seal. And disposing of that. And keeping your vacuum pop upside down, as I've mentioned before. Also taking off your foil seal of the base foundation white there. I'm going to also now sterilise my metal spatula that I just used. Okay. So, going to get our base foundation plus in the yellow. Before I do that, I'm turning on my scales. Making sure it's in grams, which it is, 0 grams. Putting your white foundation there. Pressing the ZT to tar it, so it says 0 again. And we're adding 5.2 grams of yellow. Perfect. Putting away your yellow foundation. Then, as the chart says, we are going to add 1 gram of red to this formulation number 2. Getting your red base foundation plus, making sure we tar the scales. Might just want to give this a little pat down too. When you put that back on, it should go back to 0. It's gone to 0 grams, always making sure it says 0 before you add anything. So we're doing so 1 gram of red. And then back to our chart. For this formulation number 2, it says 1.2 grams of black. Getting your black base foundation plus. I'm going to tar this again. And 1.2 grams of black. Perfect. As you can see here, that's what we've added. So your red, yellow and black to that white base foundation. Now we're going to get blending. Give that a little tap down. Getting your metal spatula and we start the blending process. We need to blend for approximately 4 minutes until you can't see any singular pigments, until we've just got that perfect formulation number 2. And wiping the edges of your spatula to get any other pigments off there too. And blending that in. Making sure you scrape the edges of your canister as well. 4 whole minutes of blending. You can still see a little bit of white pigment there. It's generally the last one to go because there obviously is so much white in there to start off with. So we're coming to nearly being done here. You can see that's a smooth colour, no pigments that you can see in there, just the colour of the formulation number 2. And I'm happy with that, so I'm going to scrape off the edges. If you were doing this for a client customization, this is a point where you can test it and just use the remaining residue that's on the spatula to test their colour. What I'm going to do now before we close the canister is wipe the canister, the edges, just to tidy that up. Okay. Getting your airless pump, placing that on top and placing some pressure into it until you click it completely down. Okay. And again, giving that a few squirts until you get your first pump of foundation, and there is your base foundation number 2 completed. You can place that back on the stand. Now we're up to blending our base foundation number 3. Just getting that out. And I'm going to sterilise my spatula, getting that ready as well. Just cleaning that from the last one. Okay, so base foundation number 3, our formulation number 3, is slightly tanned. And to begin, we're going to add to this formulation 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus. So I'll get that ready, but before we get started, removing the seal. Placing your airless pump upside down so that again that's not getting any contamination on it. We're also going to remove the foil seal of our white base foundation plus. And disposing of that. To begin, we'll turn on our scales. Just waiting for that to turn on. 0 grams, we place on this the white base foundation plus, and once that's weighed, press your ZT button and that will go back to 0 grams. So as I mentioned before, we're adding 6 grams of yellow to this customized foundation, formulation number 3. So begin with your 6 grams of yellow. Perfect. Going back to your formulation chart, we're now going to add 1.6 grams of the red base foundation plus. Before we begin that, ZT again, so your scales go back to 0. So we're adding 1.6 grams of your red base foundation. Perfect. And I might give this a little bang so we can get that down. Putting that back on the scales. Pressing your ZT before we add our black. Referring back to our formulation chart. And for the number 3, slightly tanned, we've got 1.6 grams of the black base foundation plus to add. Getting your black base foundation plus. And 1.6 grams is done. Okay. As you can see, there's your red, yellow and black mineral pigments in with your white base foundation plus for formulation number 3. Now we're getting your sterilised metal spatula and we're going to blend for 4 whole minutes. And you don't want to see any of these colours, just want it to look like your customised base formulation number 3. You can see that colour's coming together. Scraping the edges of your spatula as well to making sure any pigments are off that, and also the edges of your canister too. So you can blend absolutely everything. This is a good time to also talk to your client as well. Mention any other dermaviduals products. You might want to talk to them a bit about what's on the stand too, and some your translucent powders, your loose powders too. How that can also set your foundation. And you might even want to talk to them about your hyaluronic acid concentrate as a primer. Or if they've got a few blemishes, the Cover and Conceal stick to help as an anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial as well, but also as a cover-up. So we're getting there with that. Probably give that another minute or 2. scrape the edges of that, and it looks as though we're not getting any other visible pigments there. Oh, there's a bit of white there, so I'm going to blend that in. Just having quite a good check before you put your lid onto this. As you know, we can't change it after the lid is on. Tiny bit of white there. Just being quite thorough with this. And that's looking perfect. Scraping off the edges of your spatula. At this point, if it was for a customer or a client, you can obviously use what the remaining residue is on the spatula to test that on them. And what I'm going to do is just remove any residue from the outer layers of the bottle there. And then we will apply your hairless pump and lock that in. That's completely closed. Again, giving that a few pumps, and that's your base foundation plus number 3, formulation number 3. So the next one we're going to do is go through the blending of your formulation number 4, so getting your number 4 out. Also just going to sterilise that metal spatula. That we just used, so getting all of that formula off there. And looking at your formulation chart, base foundation formulation number 4 is your tanned colour. So we're going to begin by adding 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus. So removing your seal. Placing your airless pump upside down, avoiding any contamination on there. Also removing the foil seal of your white base foundation plus and disposing of that, you don't need that. Okay, turning your scales on, waiting for that to go 0, making sure it's measuring in the grams as your unit of measurement. Tarring that, so getting that back to 0 so we can measure how much yellow we're applying, and that's gone to 0 grams. So as I mentioned before, we're adding 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus to begin. So perfect. Got a little bit of a tap. we're going to tar that again to get that back to 0 before we add our red base foundation plus. So for the formulation number 4, the tanned colour, we're adding 1.6 grams of the red. So getting your red base foundation plus and 1.6 grams. Just tapping that down. Putting that on tar again, so getting that back to 0 grams. And for our formulation number 1, we also have now 1.8 grams of the black base foundation plus to add. So 1.8 grams of your black foundation plus. And slightly a little bit over with the black. Perfect, 1.8 grams, so I can just remove that off my spatula before I get mixing. Moving that from the scales. So we're going to start the blending process. Just making sure your spatula is dry. Okay. So, I'm going to blend all these so we don't see any of these pigments. Scraping the edges of your container. Getting a lovely tanned colour for our number 4. So mixing 4 minutes as we usually do. Making sure we're scraping the edges throughout so we can blend any of those pigments that might be visible. Also scraping your spatula too, because often that's hanging around the edges, and as I scrape that I can see there's a lot of white and black pigment there. Just blending that in now. And that colours foundation is coming up nicely now. I'm not seeing any visible signs of any other singular mineral pigments like your whites, blacks or yellow. edges to make sure we've got everything. Blend that in a little bit there. So just scraping your spatula off to get all of the foundation, as much of it as you can in there. And of course, if this was a client's foundation, you could test patch that on the side of their face, put the residue that's remaining on this spatula. Tapping that down. And we're just going to tidy up this little canister before we close that. I'm going to wipe around the edges. Okay. And getting your airless pump, placing it on the top of the canister, and clicking that into place. That's completed. Removing the cap, giving that a few pumps. That's your base foundation plus formulation number 4. And we're going to pop 4 back in place there. Just to get ready for our next one, I'm just going to sterilise our metal spatula that we just used. Getting that ready. Okay, so the next one we're going to blend is our base foundation plus number 5. Putting that out, and we're going to firstly remove the seal. Okay, placing your vacuum pump upside down, removing the seal and disposing of that. Getting your foil seal, removing that, and you can dispose of that too. So referring to our formulation chart, this is formulation number 5 that we're going to blend, which is deeply tanned. And it's telling us that we're going to be adding 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus. So turning on your scales, and again making sure that we're measuring in grams as our unit of measurement. Getting your white foundation and just measuring that. We're going to press ZT so that we can tar this and get that back to 0, so we can measure that we're adding 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus. So adding that in. Perfect. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a tap to get that down. Applying back to the scales and pressing ZT to tar that again. For this formulation number 5, we now have to add 1.8 grams of the red base foundation plus. Getting your red base foundation plus and 1.8 grams. Referring again to your formulation chart, for 5 we're going to add 2.2 grams of the black base foundation plus. So pressing your ZT again on your scales, making sure that's 0, and 2.2 grams of your base foundation plus. In the black. So there you can see, I'm just going to tap that down. You've got all of your red, yellow, black, and obviously your white base foundation plus. And we're going to blend that for formulation number 5. So getting your sterilised metal spatula, scraping the edges, and blending. The end result, of course, we don't want to see any of those singular pigments, so no red, no yellow or no black, even whites. We don't want to see, we just want to see the end result with that formulation number 5. Getting very tanned here now. Making sure you're scraping your edges as well, just to get any of those pigments off the edges and blending that all together. Also scraping your spatula too, so often they get caught up there. Obviously, as we have done, 4 minutes to blend, making sure that gives you enough time to blend up all of your pigments together. And that's becoming quite a good formulation there. You can't see any visible pigments so far that I can see of anything else other than that final colour that we're going for. Again, just scraping your spatula to make sure there's no pigments on there. Just going to blend that one through one more time. See, that's coming together well. Okay, pretty happy with that. So a little bit more white there, just get that through. Scraping off your spatula. obviously test patch this on your client at this point in time before you close it if you wanted to customise their foundation any further. Just getting all that residue off. Tapping that down. Okay. And just before we close this, we're just going to give it a wipe around the edges, make sure that it's neat and tidy. Getting your airless pump, placing that over the top of the canister and closing till that completely clicks into place. Then we give that a pump and your base foundation formulation number 5 is completed. Closing that and popping that back on your display stand. Finally, we're going to do our base foundation formulation number 6. 1 to go. Okay, before I get started, we're just going to sterilise that spatula that we just used. Having that ready. And to begin, like usual, removing that seal and placing your vacuum pump upside down, the airless pump, so that can't get any contamination on it. Disposing of the seal, and then we get our foil seal and peel that off and dispose of that as well. Okay. So for formulation number 6, the final formulation, which is for a dark skin type. So number 6, as you can see here, we're adding in to begin 6 grams of the yellow base foundation plus. Okay, so turning on your scales. Popping your white base foundation plus on it. It's also in grams, just making sure it's in grams, pressing your ZT button to tar it. We've got 0 grams. So now we're going to add 6 grams of your yellow base foundation plus. And that's for 6 grams. Just going to give that a slight tap. Applying that back to the scales. Pressing ZT again so it goes back to 0. Referring to your formulation chart again, for your formulation number 6, we're going to add 2 grams of the red base foundation plus. Getting your red pigment, and we're adding 2 grams. Perfect. And finally, we'll tap that down. Pressing ZT to tar that again. Referring to your formulation chart, we're going to be adding 2.2 grams of the black base foundation plus. Getting your black base foundation plus, and we're adding 2.2 grams. So making sure your scales are on 0. Perfect. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to blend this all together. So we're going to tap. Getting a metal spatula. And blending like so. So you can see all those pigments merging together there. And obviously we don't want to see any singular red, yellow, black or white pigment standing out. We want to make sure that they're all blended well together and we're getting that lovely deep tanned colour for our formulation number 6. Making sure you're scraping the spatula as well to get any of those singular pigments. And scraping the edges, and we're going to keep blending for 4 whole minutes, remember. That ensures that there's no singular pigments lying around in there. So we don't want the client to squirt their makeup out and see some red in there or some white. It should just be that consistent base colour that we want. Obviously, if you've got some clients that are more tanned or darker than this colour, when you're doing their customised foundations, if it's more of a cooler undertone that they've got, you can add some more of the black, and just warmer colour, you can add some more red too. So you can make that quite a lot more tanned by adding black. Make sure you're scraping your edges throughout. Coming along nicely, that colour. Scrape the edges of my spatula as well. So we'll give it about another minute, blending. One last scrape of your edges. And of your spatula as well. Give that another good blend and we should be done. Okay, so scraping your edges off so we can get all of that into your canister. Don't want to waste any. Oh, got a little bit of white there that I'm just going to blend in. Perfect. Tapping that in. And getting your airless pump and pressing that down. And just giving that a little wipe over. You can do that before or after, it just depends if there's much there or not. Okay, so this is your formulation number 6, giving that a pump, and your formulation number 6 is completed. So this is how you mix obviously your base foundations. I'm sure you're all very excited to get started with it, and please do get in touch with your BDM if you do have any further questions.